The state of California is now in a state of emergency, and it's because of the bird flu. Yep, the government has seized the very same powers that it did during the pandemic and shut down the entire state. Should we be worried? Probably. The stock market crumbled yesterday, dropping almost 3%, and we have answers on why that happened. Over in Washington, D.C., the 1,500-page monstrosity spending bill looks like it sparked enough outrage amongst all of us and the rest of the country that the deep staters are now running for cover. Donald Trump and Vance demanding Republicans call the Democrats bluff and threaten the shutdown this Friday. Trump's new border czar has some big news he's sharing on when the deportations will begin and how they will be carrying them out. We also have updates from the Watchman community about what's going on out there, as well as we have one of the Watchman community suffered a furnace outage in the dead of winter here. I mean, it's not winter yet, but, you know, it's cold, especially in these northern states. But they were prepared, and they made it through without suffering too much because they had planned ahead. All right, friends, lots of reports. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade, and these are your updates, your reports that you guys are sending in, letting us know what you guys are seeing out there. We are a little bit thin on reports, so you know, if you have things to share, please do share them. Make sure you use the word update somewhere in your comment, and that gets it to the right place. We do want to thank our sponsor, Genesis Gold Group. They help people with retirement accounts like you and me to move some of our retirements out of stocks into things that don't drop 3% in a day because the Federal Reserve is going to not cut rates anymore. If you want to talk to Jonathan and his team before the end of the year, now is the time to do that. If you click on the link at the end of the video, that will take you to a form, and they will get in contact with you, answer your questions, and start the process if you decide that you want to move forward with that. All right, so Federal Reserve cut interest rates by 0.25% yesterday, which was in line with expectations. But it signaled that they would not be cutting interest rates in the near future, which upset the stock market and the banks, and the S&P fell almost 3% down after being positive all day. We've had a little bit of a string of bad timing. The last 9 market days were down, and then it started to look like it was going to be turned around on Wednesday, but then down again. And big time down. A lot of people lost a lot of money in their retirement accounts. If you want to find out more, yeah. After a significant backlash from this channel, as well as basically every other channel out there on YouTube's, as well as from all corners, anyone with rational thinking saw the 1,550-page continuing resolution. The whole idea of the continuing resolution is like, we'll just keep the spending where it is. Well, why do you need 1,500 pages for that when you can literally put that on one single page? It's because of all the stuff they were stuffing in there. Absolutely crazy stuff, like they gave themselves a massive pay raise. The members of Congress getting a major pay raise in there. Well, it looks like this thing is not going to go anywhere. People are done with this. And they've pushed back. J.D. Vance and Donald Trump have pushed back on this, saying that the Republicans need to call the Democrats bluff. That the Democrats need this continuing resolution more than even the Republicans do. The Republicans want to cut the government down, supposedly. So don't the Democrats need this thing in order to keep the government going? There were all sorts of things stuffed in here, like they're going to force RFK, the health secretary, to operate or establish at least 12 bioweapons labs. Minimum. Now, I don't know about you, but I thought that bioweapons should be like in the Department of Defense. Sort of like nuclear weapons should be in the Department of Defense. Now, I get the nuclear weapons kind of do over... they kind of move back and forth between the, the Nuclear Regulation Department, and I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on that one. The Energy Secretary, right? Department of Energy. Anyway, the idea that the Health and Human Services Department should actually be having to develop bioweapons really just doesn't sound right. Anyway, there's that, and then all the censorship, absolutely crazy stuff. Even protections for Congress people who have leaked classified information to prevent them from being investigated, as well as not just leaking classified information, but turning it over to foreign governments, like someone who was sleeping with a Chinese spy. We won't name names, right? we don't need to name the name, right? We know who that is. Moving over to California, Governor Gavin Newsom has officially declared a state of emergency in California for bird flu. He's calling a proactive action. Communists usually do. Just to go down memory lane, which I think is... Do you know who's written the history of the pandemic? Because it seems like progressives have basically written the history of what happened. If you want to start researching the crimes that were committed by the government against the people, it's amazing how much of that's been erased off the internet. Go and search that. I was kind of trying to get a couple of the specifics and stuff like that, and I was amazed at how little there was on the internet of when did they lift the ban on church gatherings in California, because they were banning churches from meeting. They actually pursued litigation against some of the churches. They wanted to arrest pastors for having church gatherings. They banned funerals from taking place. I mean, we're not talking about little stuff. These emergency powers, and the people of California should be up in arms over this. They should be like, no, you will absolutely not do that. Or at the very least, there should be severe restrictions on what powers the state has at its disposal when dealing with pandemics. Because this is just, what happened before must never happen again. They shut down schools for almost a year and a half. No one was allowed in the schools. On the other end of the spectrum of legalism, right, from illegal, abusive, constitutional shredding stuff that they're doing over in California, over to the other end of the spectrum, Tom Homan, the incoming border czar, has stated that deportations and arrests will begin the day of inauguration. He said, we're starting across the country on the same day that Trump is sworn in. He told the outlet that he was speaking with, about 24 ICE offices cover 2 or 3 states, and every field office will be given the direction that they are to begin looking for, arresting, detaining, and removing those in the United States that have been arrested for a crime. He also said that they would seek to secure U.S. military aircraft to help with the deportations. So if they start using a military cargo aircraft, they could do that. I don't know for deportations why they'd want to do that. It would be cheaper to actually use... so basically how the U.S. military can requisition any ships that are flagged, U.S. flagged ships, in the same way, the Merchant Marine, same way all aircraft, all like commercial aircraft, also belong to kind of like this reserve air fleet. And so the U.S. government can actually basically requisition any commercial airliner that they want to. So they can just go to, American Airlines and say, you need to provide us two of a certain type of aircraft, and go to the Delta and say, you need to give us two, you need to go and just go down the line. They have to pay for them, right? But it's cheaper than operating military aircraft to use civilian jetliners. I don't know if he's also looking at using U.S. military aircraft to start patrolling the border, which is something they should definitely do. They should patrol the border. They should have drones across the entire southern border, and they shouldn't be just Customs and Borders Enforcement. They should be military aircraft, and they should be deploying the military to the southern border. I hope hopefully that happens fairly quickly, because the U.S. military does have the authority to stop people from entering the United States. Scruff Dog says, hello to all watchmen. Rhode Island resident here. Along with the Rhode Island government being cyber attacked, we talked about that yesterday, the medical field was also hit. Yesterday I received a notice that all my medical records have been compromised. They said this includes all personal data, medical tests, x-ray, and neurological data, and all insurance data, including prescriptions and everything like that. They don't say whether it affected other states, but specifically references medical data in Rhode Island. So that's a big deal, folks. A lot of people's information being compromised there. Of course, government's really not doing anything about that. Joan says, thank you, Steve, for a very informative video. I understand one of the viewers' frustrations in not being able to find sponges, which... on one hand, it's like, it seems silly, but it's like, but if you need a sponge, you should be able to get a sponge, right? I mean, can you imagine how aggravating that would be? Anyway, all these large corporations are lowering their standards and producing products that barely work, and sponges aren't lasting long enough to use them. Use them more than half a dozen times. We get it. Clorox is now weak and doesn't do the job. Dawn liquid is weak and you must use a lot more. I could go on and on. And that's, I mentioned yesterday the switch program that we're in, and that's one of the things I really love about that is that all of their stuff is like super concentrated, like their laundry detergent, their shampoos. Like, I never realized how much water they're putting in all these products. But when I start using their stuff, it's like it's so much more concentrated, which saves on shipping. And it's just like you get a bottle, and it's like it costs more, but then like it lasts 3 or 4 times longer than you know the stuff I get at Walmart. Just buying from good American companies with integrity is different. Other than these Chinese-owned companies and corporate-owned companies that all they're doing is just watering everything down, making it so that things don't work. The bleach, bleach itself is a nasty chemical. I know with the switch program that like they don't have any bleach. They have bleach alternatives, which are far more healthy, but bleach itself is actually quite dangerous if you actually look into it, right? I know a bunch of you guys make your own cleaning products, and that is the best way to go. If you don't have time to make your own cleaning products, working with the switch program, to purchase good quality stuff that's still chemical free is a good way to go. White Wolf says, critical update. I'm 100 miles north of the border in Arizona. There has been a shocking increase in border activity here. Every time I look out the window, their trucks are passing. There are 2 border patrol checkpoints in town as well, and they are stopping people at random. I will keep you updated. They are also patrolling the open desert nearby, which is infuriating because they're not actually stopping anybody. They're driving out into the desert, catching people, giving them a ride to a detention center where they're processed, like fingerprinted or whatever, and they're given free identification, free cell phones, free food, and tickets to go anywhere in the United States that they want to go to. And they're just getting all this free stuff, which is just like, you try crossing another country's border and they'll shoot you. I mean, I've been around the world enough to know that that's how borders work. In most places, you cross a border illegally and they're going to start shooting at you. You're going to be walking through a minefield. You're going through razor wire. Like, they don't want you to cross. You try crossing into China and see what happens. I've been to the Chinese border, okay? And it was in the middle of nowhere, and I just saw miles and miles and miles of razor wire for like hours driving along the border. And that wasn't even their border. They just kind of put the fence there. It's like they declared that that's where the border was. And it's like, looking at your map, it's like, this is, it's like 50 miles to the border. But they were just like, well, here's the road. This is the only place that people are going to, let's put a border fence here. And they put up a big fence with razor wire on both sides of it and on top of it. And it's crazy. Anyway, not the U.S. border, apparently. The LMC says Nevada County, California, Natural Foods Co-op has had a limit of 24 eggs, and there is 0 raw milk anywhere. Employee told me that it will probably be 6 weeks till we see raw milk again. It's a war on food. H4E says, on my road, 30 minutes south of Lake Superior, a group of large farms that produce milk, grains, hay, freezer beef, and potatoes just had their last harvest. In the early fall, hundreds of machines and office trailers arrived and started construction on a new solar farm. This complex will blanket thousands of acres of prime farmland and the destruction of the nearby forest, for green stuff, right? The people in charge are only hiring union contractors from the Detroit area to make matters worse. So we get to start get to start relying on shipped-in farm goods, driving prices higher, and the locals even can't work there, even though we have to look at this eyesore for the rest of our lives. Welcome to the green movement. Julie says, I wanted to share that we live, this is an uplifting story for you. We live in northern Illinois. Our furnace died last week and it's cold here. It was not an emergency and we were warm and safe because we've been prepping. 5 days, no furnace, not a problem. I asked my child if she was uncomfortable and she was not in the least. I was concerned for her comfort and, she had her college finals last week. She was able to focus and nailed those finals. This is why I laugh when people make fun of me and tell me that preppers are crazy. Keep on prepping, folks. Your life will be better because you are prepared for anything. It's not crazy. You go back to your great-great-grandparents and you ask them whether you should be prepared for winter, and they will look at you like you're crazy if you suggest that you shouldn't be prepared for winter. They're going to say you need to stock up, you need to get things prepared because you're responsible for you, which is what we all say, right? All right, friends, thanks for joining us. If you want to find out more about the Switch program, that's going to be down in the pinned comment down below. If you want to get some more information from Genesis Gold, there's a link right there on the screen. If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up there. Thanks so much for watching. Please keep your updates coming in. Steve Poplar of The Poplar Report out.